Welcome back to Houzz TV Live. I'm Rick Spence, and with me today is Sara Barney with Band Design out of beautiful Austin, Texas. And we've got a real treat, a beautiful house. Give me a feel for this home and the overall aesthetic. So much to talk about here.
Yeah, this house is incredible. It's a new build. It's in a neighborhood called Terrytown, which is central Austin. They're a young family. They've got three little kids. What we really wanted to accomplish was livability, functionality, durability. One of the clients is very traditional and comes from the South, and then one is British and has this sort of like British taste, but also a little with a modern twist. So sort of marrying those two styles together.
Yeah, so you'll see some sort of traditional components with sort of these modern components. And let's start in the great room because I think this really encompasses what you're talking about.
Yeah. So in the living room, what was unique about it, and something that we love to do in design in general, is we love to play with pattern. We love to play with texture. We love color. It doesn't have to be like bold, bright, crazy color, but we do love using color in every project that we do. So we brought that in through some more subdued color palettes, which is, I think, leans on that traditional piece of it a little bit, and sort of playing with those different patterns really lends itself to that. Then you look at these white plaster coffee tables. They skew much more transitional, much more modern. So that was sort of a way that we blended the texture and the two different styles sort of together. It's the shapes of the upholstery is pretty traditional, but then you bring in some of the case goods and other pieces, and it sort of blends it all together into those two different styles.
One of the things that serves as a backdrop to all of this is just picking the right white paint color. Is it all the same color with different, eggshell or flat or semi-gloss? Or what was your approach with the paint?
So we definitely stuck in the eggshell family. It is the same white throughout in that grand living space. It skews a little bit warmer. I think we also got really lucky with the architecture of the home where it has so many amazing windows. So it brings in a lot of natural light.
What white did you go with?
Pure White by Sherwin-Williams,
Oh,
which actually is not as bright white as you would think it is.
The lighting is another area where you can really define a space. So tell me about some of the lighting choices. You've got the nice chandelier, but then in sort of the kitchen, you have sort of these cones and then sort of more of a circular thing over the dining. So you're marrying sort of these different shapes in the space.
Yeah. So fun fact about this project, we actually came in after they had selected all the lighting, and then we saw it all and we said, sorry, we need to change it all. So we changed all of their selections, which they're happy with, but it was just a funny moment. Because for example, in the entryway, there's a light fixture that was going to hit the door when it opened, and they just didn't think about the functionality of it. So we had to just kind of reassess everything. The dining room light specifically, I knew needed to be simple but special because you see it directly from the street. It's the first thing you see when you walk in is the living space. So I knew it needed to sort of be grand, but I didn't want it to be too detailed, too over the top. The traditional element of it is the drum shade, but then you've got the brass sort of arch around it, and it's got like a really interesting shape to it. And so I felt like that was a way that we sort of modernized it. Same thing for the other lighting. It all had a nod to a traditional element, but it was the sort of modernized new version of it, if you will.
In a lot of these Texas homes, I've seen people opt to, surprisingly, not really do window treatments in some cases. And they just want all that natural light, and they want it to look clean or whatever. Tell me about the approach with the windows and the treatment there.
Yeah, so we went back and forth on that too. I'm actually not a big fan of window treatments just for the sake of them. If you have privacy and there's not direct sunlight or some sort of need for them, I do think it's nice to have an undressed window in that regard. But it being a big open space, a big thing to consider was acoustics. So for us, it was a sound thing. So it was going to help absorb some of the sound, but also the ceilings are incredibly high. And we had, other than the light fixtures, we had nothing else really taking the eye up. So I felt like bringing in some really gentle, light, sheer window coverings was a nice way to soften the space, bring in a slight nod to traditional, and heighten the room a little bit and kind of bring your eye to the middle ground.
Yeah, very nice. Let's go into the dining space there. Is the cabinetry along that wall all custom, and how that all come together?
That cabinetry is all custom. What I really enjoy the most about the bar space is the antique mirrored tile backsplash. It helps it keep it from becoming sort of a cavernous cutout that just lives over there. So I love that little space in particular.
What is the material for the countertop?
Black soapstone, super durable. Soapstone doesn't get used as much as I think it should. It's a really pretty material. And even the sink itself it's not soapstone, but it's black. So it sort of all blends together. For a bar specifically, I felt like it was very handsome and very elegant without being pretentious.
The chairs in there sort of have a little bit of a casual vibe to them.
Yeah. And that was a nod to sort of their California roots, and there's a little bit of a beachiness you still see throughout the home that lends itself to where they came from. But at the same time, again, they are a young family, so they sit there and eat dinner every night. That's their only eating space other than the kitchen island.
Yeah, it looks like a bulletproof table. It's super family friendly. Love that. All right, let's hop into the kitchen. Some beautiful, beautiful selections in here as well. The countertop in there, what is the material? It looks like it's the same on the island as well as the backsplash.
It is the same. It's a quartzite. I like the simplicity of it being on the entire wall with no shelves. We just have some art, some sconces. Again, that lends itself a little bit more to that traditional side of things. But then the playfulness and youthfulness of it comes in the blue cabinetry down below. It's got this timelessness of the wood and the natural stone, but then you've got this blue cabinetry, Pharaoh and Ball and Kyra blue that is really youthful, I think.
Yeah, really nice. All right, so let's get to the jewelry. So you're mixing sort of some of these brass elements. They look comfortable to grab, but they still look substantial. And then you sort of complement, you got the sconces, you have a little bit of metal, some material there. So tell me about how you marry color and texture and all these things in this area. And then also you have, above the window, some other texture happening there.
Yeah, I think with metal in particular and mixing metals and kind of metals in general in projects, I think people tend to overthink it a little bit. I think they freak out that maybe this brass isn't the same brass and it's not going to match the brass. And I think for the most part, unless they're living right next door to each other, you're not going to notice those slight variations. So kind of go with what the style is and what you feel like works best in the space. And if you are mixing metals, which we do all the time, you kind of keep it in the same family. So all the hardware, say, is chrome, but then all the plumbing is brass, but don't do, brass one faucet and then the other spout is, don't mix it like that. But if you keep it in the same family, then I think you can have a lot of fun, and that adds to the depth in a really simple way.
In terms of the cabinets, were you involved in designing the cabinetry before the build as well?
Yeah, we were kind of in between on that. So when we came in, they had already designed the cabinetry, but we came in and tweaked it. And that's what's really helpful about a designer in general, or just having a good team, right? Like your architect, your builder, your designer, is that we're each able to sort of look at it from a different point of view. And so we came in and just sort of verified some functionality issues and made sure that they were going to make sense for the client specifically and their needs.
This is a good time to talk about collaboration because there's so many choices you have to make in a kitchen in particular, but throughout a house, all these decisions. Tell me how you worked with these homeowners, because this was remote. Like this was happening in Texas while they were in California, right?
We did almost everything remotely. They did fly in for a couple of meetings with us, but for the most part, yeah, it was done almost entirely remote. Mm-hmm.
Tell me about what role Houzz played as you were doing this with your clients.
Yeah. So with Houzz specifically, I mean, we've been on Houzz for 1,000 years. I mean, I think we were one of the first. What was really helpful about it is we could send through proposals, invoices, all of our project management to them for approval. And that was really helpful, especially when it came to small little details. So we had in-person meetings with them for a lot of the selections, like the furniture and the lighting and whatever else. But there were reselects, or there were little things that we forgot, or little things that got added on. And so to be able to just pop that over to them in an email, and they could hit approve or decline, or they could say yes or no, and then it converts to an invoice. So it was a super helpful communication resource for us whenever we were working remotely with them.
All right, let's hop into the primary bedroom. This is just cozy central. like a really fancy hotel spa. So many beautiful textures. Give me an overview of this beautiful bedroom.
So you kind of hit the nail on the head. I did want it to feel almost like a upscale beachside spa hotel, a place where they could really retreat. So it was really about celebrating the couple. And again, there's traditional elements, but there's some non-traditional elements too. I think the canopy bed is a way to really like tie into that traditional, but it's got a much more transitional contemporary lines to it. So again, it was a way that we sort of married that. Actually, the sconces were a big piece of it for me. I wanted something that felt a little antique, but a little, again, up to like today's antique, if that even makes sense. Building kind of off of that, making it look like sort of lived it and loved, but in a really clean, new, fresh way.
Okay, so naturally, you got to have a great bathroom to go with this.
So this is probably, if I had to guess or think through all the rooms in the house, this is probably the most traditional room in the house, like marble and white oak, and it's very clean and crisp. The lighting makes it a little bit less traditional, a little bit more up to date, modern, if you will. But it was meant to be a very classic, beautiful primary bathroom with the freestanding tub under the window, the beautiful beaded crystal chandelier. The vanity space was a labor of love in terms of design. I wanted it to feel, again, sort of like an elevated hotel spa bathroom.
Love that. Okay, let's hop into the kids area. Just a super family friendly hangout space. Looks like the kids probably have a lot of fun up there, like a play space.
For sure. And that space is called we call that one the family room. But what was funny about that one, when we first started working with them on the plans, it was actually meant to be a bedroom, which if you've been in that room, you're like, this has to be the most massive bedroom of all time. I mean, it's the biggest bedroom. So we said, you should really convert this into a play space because you don't need this additional bedroom. So we did. What's really cool about this space is obviously there's a lot of little pockets where the kids can play. And it really is a space that can change and grow with them over time because it's essentially, even though it's got this beautiful architecture on the ceiling, it's essentially a big square. In the back by the window, there is this custom made console piece that holds a projector and they can watch movies and whatever else. So I felt like a really interesting way to do a media room without it feeling like a theater that could only be used as a theater.
And the couch looks super cozy. Plop on that thing and love that.
Totally.
Thank you so much for taking the time, Sara. This has been really great.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's been super fun.
Great. We'll talk again. Thanks.
Thanks.